The trouble is, with coming back from the Tower of London on the bus, on the tour buses anyways, a lot of us, or some people anyway, find it very hard or boring to talk about anything. And in theory, from All Hallows by the Tower all the way out to maybe Blackfriars, there's nothing to talk about as such. For the past few months, I got into the habit of talking about the river men, the wherries as they were called, or the boats are called, and how people came down. Now, one of the most striking buildings you're going to see on the riverside is Customs House. And the current Customs House is around about 200 years old. But they reckon there's been a customs building now on that site since the Roman Empire. And the Romans, whenever they built something, it tended to be the genesis for subsequent buildings. I've been saying for a while that as a fantastic representation of London and Britain's decreased importance on the world stage as far as maritime trade goes, Customs House doesn't really deal with anything now. But reading the latest issue of Private Eye today, the Customs House is still home to HMRC. That is to say, for those not from Britain, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. And it's been featured in the Eye, which I might talk about in a moment. But needless to say, Customs was awfully important, of course, at one point to the city, and so a building of its size and is utterly huge, as hopefully the photos I am showing you now are showing you. Now, oh well, we'll carry on. They reckon the first one was built around about the year 1275 on its current site of what we now call Lower Thames Street. Now, Customs House is a fairly typical building of the square mile in the sense that it seems fantastically unlucky in that it was destroyed by fire in the year 1559 and then was destroyed again during the Great Fire of 1666. This one was rebuilt by Sir Christopher Wren, one of his many, many creations, and thence that in turn was severely damaged by a gunpowder explosion, an accidental gunpowder explosion in the early 18th century. So this current building is a little over 200 years old, having been completed in 1817. And indeed, it's now being used for all sorts, not just HMRC. When I say all sorts, it's rather intriguing. So I suppose it's not really a tour guide in Exile thing, but if you are in London and you want an interesting walk, come out from the Tower, check out All Hallows by the Tower, and stay on Lower Thames Street. And if you can, get onto the riverside and walk down past London Bridge to Blackfriars. Now, according to Private Eye, the future of this great building is in deadly peril, as only buildings can be in London. And from the looks of it, whoever owns it somebody is looking to knock it down. Now, it hasn't been publicly owned, Private Eye say, since 2001, and is owned largely by a Bermuda-based property company, and they bought it for about £370 million, it says there. And they're looking, HMRC, for a much smaller sort of base. Now, apparently, Save Britain's Heritage is calling on the City Corporation who own everything in the city, more or less, to sort it out. Apparently, there's a suggestion to put extra stories on top of it, or penthouse blocks, and it'll be a great shame because, as Private Eye notes here, it's got a largely unaltered Regency layout, and anything from the Regency period, and that is to say, 1810 to 1820, when George became George IV outright, is to be preserved because a lot of Regency heritage was destroyed in the Blitz or by the Victorians or whatever, so it needs to be savoured. And only river commuters are able to see it, or those on those delightful tour boats that we get pestered about. So I'm going to see if Safe Britain's Heritage has a link, and if they do, I'll put it in the end of this video. But that is your little lot on Customs House.